Hi, it's me, Ingrid P. And we're in the forest, and it might be raining soon, so I don't know how long we'll stay. I always make these videos way too long, but I put a little bit of a um, clickbaity title on this video, but you know, is self-development selfish? Is unmasking selfish? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I want to be less selfish. That's my goal. But I can't help but feel like I'm being selfish by unmasking. And I can't help but feel like I'm being a good person by working on self development when maybe it might be selfish. So, I think that there are like different views on this. I I don't know. So, unmasking is not just about the safety aspect, you know? There is also the being accepted in society bit, and it's also that you don't want to hurt the people around you. And it's like, well, so if you can't exist without hurting people around you, then that's, I guess it's inevitable. But if you can mask and make the people around you comfortable, and then you don't do that anymore, then that's going to be difficult for the other person. It's going to be difficult for you too. And the whole point is so that you can be more yourself. However, if the yourself is selfish, then what you do, you know, if the yourself, if being yourself inadvertently hurts other people, is that okay? And I don't know, that's a nuanced topic. It's not a yes or no question. Because what happened now is that I found out that two people at my work thought I was irritated at them, and told me this week. Um, and one of them was my ESFP colleague, and one of them was one of the doctors at my workplace. The doctor at my workplace I can kind of explain by the fact that I haven't been going to her to ask questions because she only works part-time, and she only works that was a cute bird. She only works a certain percent, and then most of the time she works at a pediatrics clinic, and she also works at the old age home kind of place. So she is rarely at the healthcare clinic that I work at. So I don't have many opportunities to ask her questions. But I used to ask her a lot of questions back when she worked full time at the clinic and when I was a junior doctor. But yeah, so she was like, she wondered, she said, did I do something wrong? You never come and talk to me. It seems like you're angry at me for something. I was like, no, not at all. I guess I don't know if I've been having more of a bitch face around people. I don't know what's going on. Rather than always seeing like pleasant and smiley and all that, and always being all bubbly, I guess that I've been more flat, I guess. And inadvertently, I made people think that I was mad at them, and so they were sad about it. Then my ESFP colleague said, yeah, she said, are you mad at me? And I was like, no. It was like literally the day after I talked to my other colleague. And I was like, I didn't know that I was showing a mad face. But that seems to be more, I guess, my resting face now, rather than the face that I was showing when I was masking more, you know? And so, in this case, I guess that unmasking and self-development aren't the same thing. Sometimes they can go against each other, because self-development can mean many things and unmasking can mean many things, but like showing your kindness to others in a way that they understand is self-development. Well, being yourself and not being your masked self is more of an unmasking thing. Sorry, there are people talking. I hope that they go pass by now. Anyway, so somehow people have noticed about something in the way that I am that makes them uncomfortable around me. It's like I do not exist to make people comfortable. However, I don't want to exist and just like make people uncomfortable all the time. So it's a hard thing for me, because it's not really something that I control really either. So it's not like I deliberately like decided to become more angry. You know, it's that I am more myself now, and so my anger is more accessible to me, and also my face is less. I'm less doing all of the social niceties. But you know, I don't want to be rude. Another thing that my ESFP colleague said, she noticed this about my supervisor. She was like, "Yeah, I'm mad at our supervisor because we have the same supervisor who's autistic, because he didn't say goodbye last time we met." And then it ends up I had no idea that I was doing this, but I left on that same day without saying goodbye expressly to her. I just said I'm going now, and then I left, but I didn't say goodbye specifically to her, you know. So I wasn't doing like the, and she really feels unloved if people don't say a bye to her. And I told her, you know, it's easy for, like, I I said to her, you know, I don't like making a big scene. She's like, I live for making big scenes. I'm like, yeah, I know you do, but not me. And she kind of got that, and it was fine. But you know, I don't want to go around just hurting people's feelings. Um, so yeah, on one hand, I don't exist just to be pleasant, but at the same time, I don't want to be, you know, I do want to think about others and not just about myself. Also, self-develop. There's a trend right now of YouTube videos going around, YouTube video essays that are like, oh, sorry, it's a train. Yeah, so there's this trend of video essays that are like saying, um, sorry, I forgot my train of thought. That's what happens when you're interrupted. Um, but that says that like this grinding, you know, this men's morning routine, especially, that it's isolating you from society because you're only fixated on your own mental health rather than like connecting with others and socializing. I can see that happening, you know, and I'm terrified of that. You know, I don't want to exclude everyone else from my life. I want to cultivate relationships and be a part of this world and take action that affects more than just me and myself. But yeah, a lot of these self-actualization, self-development habits or routines or whatever are going to be very focused on your own health, and maybe sometimes at the expense of everybody else. And I don't know. I'm not a very social person to begin with, but I don't want to lose the social stuff that I have because just because I, you know, am protecting my, you know, enforcing my boundaries or all of this therapy speak talk that's going around. Sometimes people will annoy each other, and that's just part of life, and it's actually the reason that we live, you know? Um, and as much as that annoys me, you know, I get annoyed at people on the bus. I get annoyed, when babies cry in restaurants. Like, I get annoyed at many, many things. But every time I need to remind myself that, okay, it's not their fault. And also, you're sharing the space with other people. They need to also be allowed to be themselves. Because there is a risk also that I am discriminating against other people due to me being, yeah, annoyed or in discomfort in some way, some people need to speak loudly. Some people are deaf, so at work I need to speak really loudly and clearly for certain people. And some people are blind, so we need to have sharp lights so that people can see. And so certain needs clash between different people. And so for me, I don't want to live in a world myself that is loud and bright and full of people talking all the time, right? But that's just my preference. A lot of people want to have a world that's bright and exciting and that has a lot of people in it. You know, if I lived in a world that was catered to me, then it wouldn't cater to everybody else. The only problem here is that I've lived in a world that was never catered to me in terms of my sensory difficulties, and so it's tough that now I'm learning how to accommodate for those, but I can't accommodate it all the way because other people have other needs. So, like, how selfish should I be? I cannot ever get all of my needs met. Or maybe I could, like, in a very specific situation, but I can't go through the world expecting my needs to be met all the time. And sometimes I do need to, in order to be in the world with the people, to actually live a meaningful life, I need to, be put in very uncomfortable situations for me. I wish I didn't have to, but I have to. And also the fact is that if I want to be open-minded towards other people who might also have disabilities, I need to also be okay with, I can't be focused on myself all the time, So, like, it's hard, because I get so overstimulated by everything. And it's like, maybe I hate motorcycles, but that might be another autistic person's special interest. Like, it's hard living in the world. And I don't want to turn into somebody who's just thinking about themselves all the time. It's what I've had to be doing in my, recovery, healing, whatever this process is, this journey. But I want to go the next step, and the next step is including people into my life, and they will annoy me, and it will exhaust me, and it will get me into meltdowns, and it will have terrible consequences for me. And it's like, how much is it worth it? And how much is it just me blaming myself for internalized ableism in me, that is not helpful for anybody, and especially not for me. So I don't know what is good for me, what is good for others. How am I both good to myself and to others? what boundaries are okay to enforce, and which ones aren't. I've been wondering also, like, okay, I'm going to be visiting my parents this summer, but I'll also be meeting my grandfather, and my grandfather has dementia, but he doesn't know it, and he's really irritated and aggressive and grumpy, and I can't deal with being around him. At the same time, he is my grandfather. I don't have a great relationship with him, but I mean, at the same time, poor guy, you know, he he's going, back to where my parents live in order to see me, and I'm not going to be there to, I'm not going to go and break his heart. Um, but yeah, I can only stand being in his presence for a little short amount of time and not talk about anything that goes any deeper than talk about the coffee, um, you know, and he wants me to stay. Like, it's never enough time, for him. Me, he wants to be in my presence. However, we get it on each other's nerves a lot, so it's really hard to know where should my boundary go there, and how much should I accommodate to his whims if he's not accommodating anything to me, you know? And I don't know. Because I don't know if he is mentally capable of catering to any of my needs, you know? So it will be unbalanced anyway. And it's like, how much energy am I willing to put out for this other person? And it's like that for many of my relationships in my life, but mostly for this case, I don't really know what to do. And it's kind of goes back to when I had my meltdown with my ISFJ friend. Like, how much am I willing to accommodate for the needs of other people rather than my own? And at what point does my needs, and I don't want to imply that anybody's needs are selfish, because we all have needs, and in order to live a life that is bearable, we need to cater to those to a certain extent. But it isn't a really black and white answer. There is nuance in this. And also, it's difficult for me to navigate this gray area of, like, okay, how much should I mask? And how can I be myself? Yeah, I don't know how to be myself without being selfish. I've talked about selfishness a lot on this channel because, a lot of people accuse INFPs of being selfish. And there is a self-centeredness to INFPs that I can agree with. There is, however, much more behind that, Taking care of yourself isn't necessarily selfishness, but it can turn into that if it's at the expense of everybody else. But even then, it's not always considered selfishness, even if it's, disturbing some other people. If it's actively hurting other people, I don't know. It bothers me. It bothers me that I don't want to turn into a bad person by thinking that I'm becoming a better person, I don't want it to go the opposite way. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Is there any way another perspective to look on this? Have you encountered this same dilemma? Yeah. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.